Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Are we still calling it "Don't Be Ridiculous"? Or are we changing the
I guess
name?
for now, like once before we update all the logos and everything. So I
So
just didn't want
we have
us to
a
get confused with the '80s sitcom Perfect Strangers, because
because everybody remembers that incredibly popular show
yeah,
that
I know
stopped airing
exactly. Yeah, right.
30 years ago.
Well, no, I know.
Um,
It's just when you search, that's what comes up. You know,
right.
it's like, what the hell is this?
S- So we may be in the process of a rebrand. Not that our brand is that big to begin with. I don't know if you can
Not that
call it a
anybody really knows
rebrand.
what our brand is. Yeah, exactly.
We might call it an initial brand, whatever you want to call it, but it's coming soon. But we are coming to you today on Sunday. It's a little before noon. Wanted to preview the NBA season because there's already, it's only been, NBA season started Tuesday. There's already a whole lot to talk about. And, the thing I wanted to talk about first was, and I'm not talking to just Clark here, I'm talking to the audience. Have you seen Victor Wembanyama? Because wow. I mean, the guy just first couple of games, it is quite impressive. The guy is a defensive force. I mean, if you come anywhere near the basket and if he's inside the three-point line, he's got a chance to block your shot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just the fact that he's that tall and he moves. I mean, he moves like Durant. Like
Yep.
when I watch him, that's what I'm reminded of. But he's even taller than Durant. So
Yep.
it's just if that guy stays healthy and just continues to develop, he's going to be really good. So we'll,
Yeah,
we'll see what
it's
happens. I mean, it's early. It's only a few games in, so I think unfortunately we have this stupid 24-hour news Twitter cycle where everybody overreacts to like one game. They're like, "Oh, the first game, I don't know, I wasn't that impressed." It's like, dude, they have 81 more games. Like,
yep.
relax.
Yeah, that is the crazy part. Like people trying to make sweeping judgments about him already, and it's like, guys,
Yeah.
but the thing is, like, I just look at it like this, and we talked about this the other day. The guy was playing in Europe professionally against men for the
Yep.
last few years. Like the guy's not. This isn't foreign to him. It's not like, oh my God, what am I going to do against these NBA players? When you watch the game, and the other thing is when you notice, you watch, like, he's incredibly competitive. He's not
Yep.
worried about anybody else on the floor. Like it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter that he's playing the Warriors and they have Steph Curry. He doesn't care. So I just think that this guy it's a first of all on defense he's got a chance to be an all timer right away. Like you can
Yep.
see it immediately. Like you can't do anything if he's near you and you're trying to get to the rim or it's over. And you can't even shoot. The thing is, you can't even shoot a fadeaway jumper on him. If he's guarding you, you can't. You try to fade away, he's just going to knock that thing back into your face.
Yep.
So on defense, I think the dude is already spectacular. Offensively, like I don't understand what I'm confused by is people acting like, oh well, I don't know, he wasn't that good a shooter and blah blah blah. Like watch the guy shoot. Like I think he's going to be pretty good. Like
Yeah.
regardless of whether he's making them all now, just watch him shoot for 5 seconds. You can realize, oh, this guy can shoot. Even if he's not great at it right now, he'll figure it out. You know, so I don't understand the arguments against him are, well, he's got to put some weight on. People are going to push him out of the paint and blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, they probably will.
Okay. Yeah, that's
That's
fair.
probably
He has time to put on weight and build muscle and do all that other stuff. By the way, Giannis wasn't this good right away.
not at all, not even
No, I mean
close.
it took him a few years to even get close to what he is now. You know, so yeah, I mean if you look at where he is, it's like, dude, unless he gets hurt, because guys
Right.
that are that tall, your body's not meant to be that tall. So hopefully he stays healthy. If he does, he's got a chance to be really really good. I don't want to go overboard and be like, oh, he could be the best ever. I don't want to do that because that's a little ridiculous to put on someone who's 19 who just has played 3 NBA games. But
Well, we don't. Yeah, we don't know. We don't know. We have no idea what he's going to be in the future. All we can talk about is what we've seen so far, and what we've seen so far is the guy has tremendous potential.
yeah,
And yeah, exactly. I agree with you. He's 19. Let's all give him a little bit of time. We got to give him a few years to get. And plus you get the NBA strength and conditioning program. You get the nutrition. You get the, give
yeah,
him some time to figure it out. Could he get, yeah, could he get hurt? Sure. But we just gotta we'll just see how it goes. But all I can say is early returns. the guy, the guy is a freak show.
Yeah.
It is insane to watch this guy. It's like nothing I've ever seen before.
Yeah.
Um, and I kind of honestly, to jump into the next thing, I kind of feel bad for Chet Holmgren
Oh. Yeah.
because I feel like he's just a lesser version of Wembanyama, but he can't do all of the stuff he can do. So it's kind of like I kind of feel bad for Chet. There's another guy who oh yeah, he's better than me and taller. and can do all this stuff, and it's like I still think, from what I've seen, I still think Chet can be pretty good, but I think that's gonna be fascinating.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, I think that was one of the things I wrote down. Like, there's teams this year that, like, they're not going to win the championship, but I think they could be fun to watch, like Oklahoma City,
Absolutely.
Sacramento, even San Antonio. I mean, they have a really young roster, but they have Wembanyama, so I think that's going to be interesting to watch. I'm not saying they're really going to win anything this year, but,
But they're going to be trying to win games. It's not a
no,
team
they
that's
are, exactly.
just going to
Yeah.
be tanking. They're good, and they're good enough. They have enough stuff around them. They can actually, they can play basketball and they can beat some people. They're not going to be, they're not going to be over 500 or anything. They're, but
Right.
it's a team that is going to be coached well, and they're going to play hard every night. So what do you? So other than Wembanyama, what are you most looking forward to this season?
What am I most looking forward to? I this sounds really cynical and messed up, but I'm just waiting till we get to the point, whether it's late in the season or in the middle of the playoffs, when people go, "Wait a minute, Phoenix, they got a lot of problems. I don't think this is going to work." I just, because, and again, it's sort of a thing where, like, I just really, 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 really want to be right, and I can't wait until it happens, because I feel like, all the stuff people were criticizing when they first made those moves, and then, it's basically like, well, they don't have a lot of depth, and they're going to have to play a lot of minutes, and the guys get injured a lot, and, who's going to play defense, and, Bradley Beal and Booker and Durant basically play the same way. Like, how is this possibly going to work? I feel like they're going to, you know, win maybe 45 games or something, because guys are going to get hurt and they don't have any depth, so they're not going to get a high seed in the playoffs. Okay,
Right.
so maybe they win the first round series, but I mean maybe not. I mean, if they have to play like the Lakers or hell even the Warriors or like the Kings, like how are they going to do against them?
Yeah, yeah. I think that yeah, we'll do the Phoenix conversation now. Yeah, you and I notoriously don't believe in Phoenix, and look, I'll give you. We'll talk about them. I'll give you the argument. The positive argument for them in a few minutes. But first of all, yeah, I agree with you. I don't quite understand. They traded. I just think it's funny that the Suns. The Suns fans are like, oh no, we got Yosef Nurkic. Like we're good. We got rid of Aiton and whatever. It's like, yeah, but have you guys watched Nurkic like in the last few years? Like they seem to think they're getting Nurkic from like 2019. And it's like
Yeah,
I'd like to point out the guy can't protect the rim. Like he's not really going to be able to guard anybody. And so I don't understand how are you gonna when you get to the playoffs, dude. It's who is your weakest player, and that's who teams are going to go after. And so if this is you're depending on this guy, and then it's like guys bringing off the bench Drew Eubanks and Watanabe and guys that have never done anything in the playoffs before, and who's going to guard all the perimeter players you're going to have to play when you get into the West? We get into the playoffs in the West. Who's guarding all those guys? Because Bradley. I know everybody's goes crazy about Bradley Beal, another guy that can't really stay healthy, and even when he does, he's not the first or second best player on a championship team. So, I don't understand how this is going to work, and they're already like like we've been talking about, they're already injured.
yeah,
They've already, Booker and Beal hasn't played yet, and Booker missed the second game, and Durant's going to get injured at some point. He just gets banged up. That's just the way it is with him. It's not anything that Kevin Durant's doing wrong. It's just he's 35 years old almost, and that's unless you're LeBron, even LeBron gets hurt. This is pretty much how it works. So I just think I just think they're going to run into teams in the West, and like we've been talking about, the West is going to be really good this year. It's not going to be easy to just. This isn't like the Eastern Conference where you should be able to get to 50 wins without, working that hard. It's going to be rough sledding out there, especially early in the season, and then when you get into the playoffs, I don't believe that it's like you're going to mid-range jumper your way to the championship.
That doesn't work.
Right.
The other thing I was thinking about trying to describe what Phoenix is. They're the Miami Dolphins of the NBA. Okay? I mean, think about it. I don't really think they built their team the right way. The Miami Dolphins didn't build their team the right way on the offensive and defensive lines. Okay? Phoenix, they got a bunch of guys who do the same stuff. It's really flashy. It's really fun. They're gonna steamroll over some people, but then when you look up, they're gonna have critical guys get injured, and they're not gonna really be able to compete, as much as they need to in a 7-game series. So and by the way, there's a bunch of stats you can cite about how efficient their offense is going to be. Oh, their offense is going to be great during the regular season. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great, and that's going to confuse a lot of people. They're going to be like, well, what do you mean? Why don't you think they can win the championship? It's like, because teams don't win championships playing this way.
Right. And last year against Denver, it basically came down to, does their fifth guy make threes or not? Right. If he does, they have a shot. And by the way, that was with Booker and Durant shooting like 75% for the 2 games that they won against Denver. So yeah, if you're going to shoot the absolute lights out, then you have a shot. But otherwise, if you're just kind of, good offensively and not unbelievable, like, it's not going to happen. Now, listen, the positive argument for Phoenix is, well, we got Frank Vogel. He's going to make everybody play defense. We're going to play within a system. He's going to make everybody do what they're supposed to do. And that's a fair argument. I think that's how you should try to do it if you're Phoenix. You try to get everybody to play within a defensive system and work through it through the season. But the problem is, as you've talked about, if the guys aren't all going to be playing, then you know what I mean? If your main guys aren't going to play, then it's really hard to work that out in the regular season. They tried this in Brooklyn where nobody really played, and then they jump into the playoffs, and what happens? They get their ass kicked because they haven't played together at all, and they don't have anything worked out. So, yeah, not a Phoenix believer. So what else?
Just real quick. So I mean, just on that point, just to close on that point. So like Golden State, for instance, Steve Kerr's always talking about they got to play connected, right? And a lot of that when he's talking about on defense. Well, how do you do that? You do that by playing together a lot. Okay?
Right.
So you know where you're supposed to be, you know what your job is, you know what their job is, and everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. When you don't play together, you have to try to figure it out on the fly, and it doesn't work. Okay? We've seen it before. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's too hard. So, I mean, what I'm looking forward to the most, or next after these things, is people trying to find another team to win the championship when it's clear that the Denver Nuggets are the best team and they're right in front of your face. I'm going to quite enjoy that this season, where everyone's going to make all kinds of excuses and try to tell me why the Celtics are clearly, look at their lineup. It's the same thing we've been doing for the last 4 years in a row. Everybody looks at the Celtics and goes, oh, look at their lineup. I mean, look at the talent. I mean, they've got to win the championship. And they continue to run into the same issues every single year. And we're going to continue to ignore you just talked about connected. Denver's the most connected team. Okay? They've been playing together, especially Murray and Jokic have been playing together for a long time. Yep. Like, we're talking 6-7 years. So they know each other intimately well. Okay, and they play together really well. Everybody on their team knows their role. And I know the criticism, well, they lost Bruce Brown. Okay, I think Denver will figure out how to replace their 7th man. Okay, I think they can figure out a way to make it work and, get something out of the guys they have. And if they can't, they'll pick somebody up. They'll pick somebody up either in the buyout market or they'll trade for something or whatever. They'll figure out that position. I'm not freaking out that, oh my God, they can't win it because they don't have Bruce Brown. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate his contributions, but I think that the fact that Jokic makes the game so much easier for everybody else, Like I don't understand what people need. What do you need? Like what do you need to look at? What do I need to tell you to get the point across that guys, this is the best team. It's obvious. Why can't everybody see this? You continue to try. Well, the Bucks have Lillard. It's like, listen, I think Lillard's a great addition for the Bucks. I think that's exactly what they needed. And I think what Boston did with Drew Holiday, I think those are fantastic moves. I think they really help their team. But you're asking me, who do I trust and who do I trust to play at their best and do what you have to do to win? I trust the Denver Nuggets the most, and I don't understand why it's a question.
Yeah, look, and we've said this multiple times. They rolled through the playoffs last year. Okay? They rolled and all the Lakers fans were trying to talk themselves into that. The Lakers got swept. Okay? Like, I don't care that the games were close. They got swept. They couldn't win one. They couldn't win one game on their home floor. Okay? Now, look, I do think that that depth might be a challenge for them. That's probably, if you want to look at what's their flaw that could hurt them, that's probably it. But they dominated everybody they played. They know exactly how to play together. People are talking about Giannis and Damian Lillard fitting together. Well, Jokic and Jamal Murray, like you said, they've been playing together for several years. Okay, and I think Jamal Murray is basically poised to have a really breakout season where he makes the All-Star team. And I think more and more people are going to start talking about how good of a player he is and how in terms of guards, he's one of the best in the league, So I think people will start talking about that, assuming he has a really good regular season, which he should. And the other thing is, are they going to repeat? I mean, again, I don't know. They probably have the best chance since the Miami Heat did it 10 years ago, okay? Like, you could look at, the Lakers team. I mean, Anthony Davis kept getting hurt, so that was kind of a concern. But, I mean, I guess they did have a decent chance, the year after the bubble. Milwaukee, look, I mean, they won the championship, but it's not like they did it in the most convincing fashion. So I think Denver really has the best shot of any team we've seen over the last 10 years to repeat as a champion. So, but will they do it? Again, we'll see. I think it could come down to their bench. Hopefully they don't have any significant injuries. And then the other point I wanted to make was, outside of Jamal Murray and Jokic, Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon. I mean, those players are Aaron Gordon was a high draft pick. Okay, there's going to be times in playoff series where he just dominates for a quarter or maybe a half, or maybe he has a game where he's just really good. Okay, these other teams, who do they have that can really do that? Milwaukee, outside of Damian Lillard and Giannis, who, by the way, they fit together really great. I think they're going to be really good this year. That's a really good team. But Middleton has not been the same player. They gave up Drew Holiday, and then it's kind of, they've just got some role players. They don't have anybody like what Denver has.
Yeah, and the other flaw I think for Denver would be, is Porter going to get injured, and is he going to be available when they get to the playoffs? Because they're going to need his shoot. They need his shooting on offense because he can get a shot off against anybody because he's 6'10". So that's a big that's kind of a big thing to look at. But but listen, if you're asking me to rate it against all these other teams, that's just how I feel about it. And I heard this argument from Nick Wright made this argument on First Things First. Well, Jamal Murray averaged 33 points a game in the series against the Lakers last year, and it's like, that's more than Kobe ever averaged in a series, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but see, here's my problem with these statistical arguments that people bring up. It's 2023, guys. Everybody scores way more than they used to. The pace is way increased. So let me get this straight. If Jamal Murray scores 29 points a game instead of 33, what's the difference? Does it really matter? Like, he was still awesome. Like, he's acting like, oh, Jamal Murray had an out-of-body experience. It's like, no, he actually had a really good playoff series. It just looks more ridiculous because of the numbers are so inflated because of this is the era that we're in. Okay, there's a reason that Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic can get triple doubles anytime they want now. Like, yes, they're great. Don't get me wrong, but also all of these numbers are ridiculous because of the pace. Everything is increased. Right. So don't try to make a statistical argument. Whenever Denver needed it against the Lakers, they got it. Why? Because they had the two best players.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all right. So let's move on. I wrote down some questions. Well, first let's figure.
By
Go
the
ahead.
way, just real quick. So after Denver, who would you pick as like the team that you think could win the championship?
I mean, because of my aversion to Boston, because I just don't trust them, I would probably take if you're asking me the whole league, I would take Milwaukee.
Yeah, I'm taking Milwaukee. Yeah, because at Boston, I just we can get into Boston. I just find it funny that people are like, oh, Drew Holiday is going to help them at the end of games. Okay, well, Drew Holiday was on the Bucks last year, and what happened in the playoffs? They sucked at the end of games. No offense to Drew Holiday, I think he's a really good player, and he's a really good addition to the team. But
Yeah, so we'll talk about Boston in a second. So the other thing I'm looking forward to is Giannis playing with Damian Lillard. I think that's
yeah,
going to be fabulous to watch. Them trying to figure out the pick and roll together because they're a perfect complement to each other. Because you have to guard, like they figured this out real quick. It's like, oh, teams are going to have to push guys out to 25, 30 feet from the basket to guard Damian Lillard pick and rolls. It's like Giannis is just going to have all kinds of space now to operate, and Lillard's like, oh my God, they're going to double team that guy. Now I'm going to have all of this space. So just they're going to flourish once they figure out exactly how to optimize what they're going to do. It's going to be fantastic because they complement each other perfectly because of Lillard's shooting and because of the way Giannis can run pick and rolls and set picks.
right.
That it's a nightmare. And so I think that we're going to get to see, now that I think about it, we're going to get to see a lot of Giannis playmaking because he's going to have so many opportunities where he's coming off the setting the pick and gets catches, at the free throw line. He's going to have all kinds of stuff that he can do off of that they're going to have to learn how to work with because that's not really something he's done before, but I have no doubt that he can do it.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited about that in the Eastern Conference and to see how that goes. So what else are you looking forward to?
Let's see. I mean, I guess it'll be kind of funny to see what happens with Boston because I just, we've obviously got a lot of questions about their coach, right? And they seem to just continually have the same problems. I mean, is it going to be the same thing again?
Right.
I don't know.
So that's the hard part. It's really difficult with them because it's like, you could tell me, well, their top 6 players are better than everybody else. You could say that. Like,
Yeah,
I
that's
think
fine.
that's talent wise. Yeah, I get what you're saying. But my issue with Boston is, and listen, they're going to destroy people in the regular season because they should be able to play. They should be able to play really good defense, and they should be a little bit better offensively with Porzingis out there. So
Right.
that should really help them, especially in the regular season. They're just gonna, they're gonna dominate most teams, and I would expect them to get the 1 seed because they've got enough youth to where they're gonna bring it every game, and I think Milwaukee will, take plenty of games off. So I
Yeah.
think in the regular season they're just going to be fantastic, Mike. But my concern with Boston is the same as it's always been. What is your offensive execution at the end of critical games going to be? Because so far, like we've seen it, like it tends to fall apart. And I'm not sure what you go to. Now I understand. All right, we don't have Marcus Smart to take bad threes anymore, and I get that. I think that's a good a smart move by them to get Smart off the team. I think he had outlived his usefulness with them and all that stuff. But at the end of games, and I know, all right, we got Drew Holiday, we got Porzingis now. I get it, but it's just going to come down to what is Jason Tatum going to be? Are
Yeah.
you gonna move up to the next level and be one of these guys who can carry a team in the fourth quarter? And what's going to happen? Because so far, what we've seen, and when I watch them though, like I watched them play against the Miami Heat the other night, and they don't have like a staple offensive play. They don't have like all right, we're going to run pick and roll with this guy, or we're going to do this. They don't have like okay, this is what we go to. And I
Yeah.
think that really affects them. It turns into Tatum and Jaylen Brown taking step back threes.
Yeah.
And, it's so that's the thing that I I hope, And the thing is, like, if you want to do the positive thing on Boston, right? They got the best top six. Joe Mazzulla now has legitimate assistant coaches to help him. Like, he's got a full year to figure this out. Last year, he was kind of thrown into the job at the last minute and had to figure it out and really didn't have time to go through the stuff you need to go through in the offseason to figure this thing out, right? Their offense was, during the regular season, was better, right? But during the playoffs, it just turned into a three-point shooting contest. Now, they might have some, maybe, like I said, maybe Porzingis helps them a little bit better because he's a better shooter. I get that. You're replacing a guy who wasn't a great shooter with a guy who really is. So yeah, that would be the positive. Like, okay, we can figure this out, and if Tatum can get just a little bit better, we really have a shot at this. But my suspicion is just going to be all of these things come up, which is like, okay, how are they going to guard big guys? Like, what is, when they play Milwaukee, who's going to guard Giannis?
Yeah.
Because I've seen, I don't think Porzingis is a bad defensive player either. I think he's pretty good. But that doesn't mean he can guard Joel Embiid and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like, that's not going to be who he is. And Al Horford is 37 years old. So I don't know how they're going to do with size in the paint, and they may get dominated on the boards, and that's always been a staple for them, like trying to win the rebounding battle. And that's how Boston loses these playoff series, especially to last year to the Heat. They lost to the Heat because the Heat were just tougher than them. Yeah. There's nothing else to it. It's not skill level, it's not talent, it's not ability. It's just they were just tougher. And so I don't know if Joe Mazzulla, what he's going to do about fixing that, because you just can't. And they lost Marcus Smart, who was one of their toughest players. So I'll let you talk.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things with the Celtics, like, and this is where I think analytics have jumped the shark. Like, we talk about stuff in the NFL with guys going for it with coaches going for it on fourth down, because the analytics say that you should do it, and then we're watching and it's like, what the hell are you doing? This doesn't make any sense. Well, with the Celtics, I mean, they just seem so focused on, like the Houston Rockets used to be. We're just going to shoot threes and try to get layups, okay? And in the regular season, that can work really, really well, And you should still shoot a lot of threes in the playoffs. But, at times you need a mid-range jump shot,
Yep.
You need something else in the middle there. And so it's like, Tatum and Jaylen Brown, like, every now and then they run you off the 3-point line, take a pull-up 2-pointer, I'm not saying you have to take a bunch of them, but every now and then you got to take one to kind of, and that's what you kind of see in toward the end of a lot of these games. It's like sometimes they're shooting threes, but a lot of times it's like they dribble into the lane, they take a pull-up jump shot. So I think that's obviously a concern. And then, yeah, like you said, just the toughness and I mean, that's a great point. Like, why don't they have some sort of staple play? Denver knows what they're going to do. I think Milwaukee now, they know exactly what they're going to do at the end of games. Like, it's pretty simple. Like, the ball's going to be in Damian Lillard's hands, and he's going to make something happen, whether it's him shooting or they're going to have a pick and roll or something. And, yeah, he'll make the right play, just like Jokic will make the right play. But these other teams, like Philadelphia, same thing. I'm like, what are you guys going to do at the end of the game? Like, have you guys figured that out? Because that's because a lot of, especially in the playoffs, a lot of these games come down to the fourth quarter, and it's just who executes better.
Yep. Yeah. I totally agree. I rewatched Game 7 between the Heat and the Celtics the other day, in the playoffs last year, where the Heat beat them. And Clark, it was literally like, okay, Heat come down, they get either a Jimmy Butler mid-range jumper, or they get Bam Adebayo in the lane, or they get, Caleb Martin wide open, or whatever. They get a decent look, even if they don't make it. Boston comes down, and it's just jack up a three. The only guy who was actually driving to the basket was Derek White a couple of times, when their offense actually looked decent, when he was driving to the basket and getting fouled or getting a shot in the lane or something like that. The rest of the time it was just guys taking threes. And the problem is, I'm watching it going, and it's Al Horford and Marcus Smart taking the shots. And I'm just going, guys, this is why. And at halftime, Barkley is ripping them apart for why do you guys keep doing this? And it never stopped. So, I mean, that was Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. So it took them all that time, and they still couldn't figure out how to do something else. So That's my concern. Can it be fixed? It can. If Joe Mazzulla coaches correctly and gets these guys to, do something different, there's got to be other stuff that they can do. And they'll have we'll see now. They do have a nice, like, if they use Porzingis correctly, they have a really nice pick and roll, pick and pop thing they can do with him because he can shoot and he can cause, the defense all kinds of problems. So this stuff is there. I just don't know if it's gonna happen for him. But we'll move on. We'll move on from the Celtics because we could go on
one thing.
all
Speaking
day
of
with
other
that.
things I was looking forward to this season, like if we can get, Jokic versus Giannis in the finals, okay, that, and then if we can get Giannis versus Embiid, like I'm afraid that like we're gonna go through and that's never gonna happen somehow because something's wrong with the Sixers or something's wrong with the Bucks. Like I'd like to get that matchup. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, is there, by the way, just randomly, is there any question as to, I'm sorry, is there any way that Jokic is not the best player in the NBA? Like to me, I don't think there's a debate. I think it's clear, but tell me what you think.
Yeah, and a lot of people are saying they think he's going to win an MVP again this year. So, yeah, which I think that's, yeah, I mean, I think you could basically say, I guess you could put it between him and Giannis.
Right.
And Giannis, I guess people are going to, he hasn't been able to win it the last few years. So I guess, you kind of, but yeah, it's probably Jokic.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, Giannis is a better defensive player, but Jokic is not a bad defensive player. We saw that in the playoffs and the finals. Jokic is plenty good enough, and Giannis doesn't have anywhere near the offensive game that Jokic does. And right. So I don't think it's really a discussion, but I just found that an interesting question. All right, so here's some of my questions for this season. Is James Harden actually going to make a difference, whether he plays for Philadelphia or somebody else or whatever?
I doubt it. I don't know what they're going to get for him.
Right. Yeah, back to my as we've stated many times on this podcast, back to my, I told you, Daryl Morey, that this, when they traded Ben Simmons for James Harden, I said that trade was a disaster, and by the way, I was right. I know Harden had some good games in the playoffs, but when it counted, what happened? Completely shit the bed. So, and now he's not going to be able to get very much for James Harden, so you did that whole Ben Simmons thing, and what did you get? Like, what did you get? You don't want Joel Embiid to leave. Well, you really screwed this up. So good luck. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think James Harden's going to make a difference. The idea of James Harden playing on the Clippers with Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and Russell Westbrook is just insanity to me. I don't quite understand how that's going to work. Like, what are we doing now?
Yeah, we're just going to throw shit together. We're just going to throw shit against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, it's absolute nonsense. So no, I don't think it's going to make a difference, and I don't think he's getting a new contract. Well, I'd like to say I don't think he's getting a new contract, but he probably will because the NBA's stupid. I don't understand these teams.
Yeah,
what can I tell you?
What a terrible end to his career, though.
Yeah,
I mean, for Harden, because look, I mean, criticize him all you want. I mean, if Chris Paul didn't get hurt that one time, they probably would have won the championship. He did win an MVP. He is one of the best scorers we've ever seen, But I mean, look, a lot when people talk about this is the stuff they're going to talk about. Him asking for trades, like seemingly every single year, and flaming out in the playoffs. So
and quitting on teams and showing up when he felt like it and whatever. Right. Like I think it's funny. Ryan Russillo made a joke like when Harden gets into the Hall of Fame, he should have a referee introduce him. because without the referee's help, I don't think we'd be talking about him that way.
That's true.
But that's a kind of a negative attitude about it. But I get it. I totally understand it. Do you think Ben Simmons will return to a serviceable NBA player?
That's possible. But I wouldn't think of him as like a really reliable player. I mean, I thought it was hilarious when he made some Instagram post last year like, I never want to go out in the first round ever again, and I'm just like, oh really? You're gonna act like you really 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 give a shit now? Okay, sure. I don't really buy it, but okay.
Dude, the JJ Redick interview with Ben Simmons. First of all, I like JJ Redick. but that was a weak ass interview. Like, if you really want to be somewhere in the podcast space, man, you got to ask one tough question. But but if he does that, he probably doesn't get the interview. So I get it. But at the same time, Ben Simmons, and I'm going to talk about this later. Ben Simmons is a knucklehead, and I have my knucklehead list that I'm going to give out in a few minutes. So I'll explain what I mean by that. But Ben Simmons, it's amazing. Clark doesn't think he's done anything wrong. Still believes he's awesome, and I don't understand what's wrong with everybody else. And so players like that, just, do I think Ben Simmons could be serviceable? Maybe. I think it's possible. But as soon as the team gets good or there's any pressure on him, forget it. He's out.
Yeah.
I said, when will the media accept that Denver's the best team? When they're holding up the trophy.
Yeah.
That's my answer. That's my answer to that.
Well, and by the way, they will accept it while they're holding the trophy, and then the next day they'll be like, "Well, who do you think's going to win next year?" I don't think Denver's going to win it again. Yeah, I think it's going to be this team. So yeah,
it's going to be Boston. Clearly, Boston's the best team. I mean, I don't know why we're arguing about this. Boston's clearly awesome.
Well, I don't know. Did you see what happened 2 weeks ago? No. What do you mean? They sucked. Like what? I don't understand.
Right, exactly. We've got it's Clark. It's like when it comes to the Boston Celtics, the media is like pregnant women. Like they had the baby 6 months ago. They don't remember that. They don't remember the labor pains at all. They don't remember any of that.
Yeah.
No. What are you talking about? They're back, obviously. How good is Wembanyama going to be this season?
I don't know. Could he make the All-Star team?
I find that a little far. I don't know that he's going to be all-star level. I think, like, based on what I saw, like if he plays enough minutes, I think he's going to average 20 points a game, and I think he's going to have 3 or 4 blocks a game because people are not going to be ready. First of all, especially the first half of the season, people are not going to be ready for this. Like, no one's going to be prepared for even watching this guy on video. I don't see how you can be ready for this guy when you get on the court with him. So I think he's going to be solid. I think he's probably most likely to win Rookie of the Year. But All-Star team, I don't know if he's going to play enough or be productive enough to make the All-Star team, just because there's only 12 guys, 15 guys, or whatever it is that make it. So I think that's going to be really difficult. But like I said, in that game against Houston the other night, they went to him with 30 seconds to go in the game on the line. Like, that's the kind of stuff that was happening when Luka was a rookie. So if it starts to go that way, then look out. I have no idea what's going to happen. But I would say, yeah, short of All-Star level, win Rookie of the Year, really good player. I think he could average 20 points a game just because it's easy. He can just get his shot off anytime he wants. It's just
so
can
talk about the Lakers at all?
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, actually. I put, can LeBron keep playing 35 minutes a game, and is that going to work?
Yeah, so here's the thing that people need to, and people do this a lot. Like, I've heard people say this before, like I've heard Chris Broussard say this. Disappointment comes from not meeting expectations, okay?
Right.
So, but the problem is, people have outlandish expectations that don't really jive with reality, okay?
Right.
The Lakers are a good team, okay? They're a functional roster now, but they got rid of Russell Westbrook. They've got a functional team, okay? And look, they should make the playoffs, and they can win maybe a series or two, okay? But look, LeBron's going to get missed time this year, okay? Because that's what he does the last few years. He's just too old. He's played a ton of minutes. Anthony Davis will probably miss some time. If he misses a lot of time, then then they got problems because they're going to have like a low playoff seed, and that's going to make things a lot tougher. But remember, LeBron. This is not 2018 LeBron, okay? This is not 2020 LeBron. This is 38 going on 39-year-old LeBron. He does not command the amount of attention that he used to command. He's not able to, because of that, he's not able to make his teammates, better the way that he used to. Okay? He can't take over a game the way that he used to. Sometimes he can, but he can't do it enough, as much as the Lakers are going to need, because, Anthony Davis is inconsistent. And then I feel like people are like Austin Reeves. He's good, you know. He's not a great player. I feel like people are expecting things out of some of the guys on the team that it's like they're not going to do that. You know, they're good. Like I said, this is a good team. You know, and when Anthony Davis is really dominant, yeah, they can look really good, especially if LeBron is his jump shot's falling because his jump shot has become really inconsistent. So, yeah, again, the main thing, they're a solid team. That's it. So, and I understand the Lakers will be like, well, we need to win championships. Well, fine. Then when you don't win this year, you can be disappointed all you want. But as far as I'm concerned, barring significant long-term injuries, they're going to hit their ceiling in the playoffs. Okay? And their ceiling is not winning a championship.
Right. And yeah, totally agree with you. That being, I mean, listen, Clark. The crazy part is, like, this is the craziest part to me. If Denver wasn't in their way last year, right? Let's say Murray's out and couldn't play. If the Lakers make the finals last year, they're winning the championship.
Yeah.
Like, that's the craziest part of all. Is that there's no way. First of all, the Heat they couldn't beat Denver. They weren't going to beat the Lakers either. And there's no way Boston was going to beat the Lakers. So that's the crazy part, is that, now granted, they weren't even close to beating Denver. I'm not suggesting that they had any chance. I'm not suggesting that. But what I am saying is that's the craziest part, and their roster's better this year. And so my thing with the Lakers is, look, I think LeBron will be fine. I think he's probably going to have to play 35 minutes a game for this team because they're going to need him, especially at the end of games against a lot of the good teams. Against most of the bad teams, no, they'll be fine. They have so much other talent that it'll be okay. I think the Lakers during the regular season are going to be really good. I think that they have a chance. I think they're unless LeBron and AD miss ridiculous amounts of time, I think they got a really good chance to be a top 4 seed. And do some damage in the playoffs because they just have something that other teams don't have. Their size is just a serious problem. We saw it against the Warriors last year. They can just pound the shit out of you. And LeBron is so smart to go, oh, okay, I'll just drive it to the basket on you. I'm just going to use my size. I'll post this small guy up. Like, LeBron knows exactly what to do in these playoff series, and his knowledge really helps them. But does that make them a championship team? No, not even close. Now, what I will say is one of the problems that I see for them is they kept D'Angelo Russell, which I thought was a bit of a mistake, and they're letting D'Angelo Russell kind of be the starter and have the ball too much. That needs to be Austin Reeves' job. And so I think where the Lakers are now is it's a really good team. I also think they have plenty of guys they can trade. So they're in a great position to make a move to help to consolidate, to make their team, better overall. Maybe trade some of the pieces they have for one guy, trade, 2 or 3 for one, and try to make their improve their team. But this is one of the things. I like their team. I really do. I like what they did. I like the moves they made. I like where they're at. I just think, where they're at and where they're going to be is just not. It's not a championship level team. But LeBron is incredible. That's all I can say. For a guy 39 to be doing this is beyond. It's beyond all expectations. It's just absolutely insane.
Yeah. Yeah. No one else at that age has played this way.
Oh yeah, he's got to have the best NBA career ever. Nobody's ever for 21 years or whatever it is. Come on, nobody could do this. The only guy that comes close is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and he was just he had the sky hook, so he could just do that all the time. Nobody was doing all of the stuff that LeBron is doing for his team. All right, so how do you see Chris Paul in Golden State? How do you see that going?
It'll work. I think we've already seen it that he'll kind of stabilize things when Steph is off the floor because that was one of their biggest problems last year. But, again, it's just one of those things. It doesn't really matter. They're not winning the championship. Right. I don't think they can play the kind of defense they need to play. They're still really undersized. And some of that's a function of, Klay Thompson's not the same defender that he used to be. Look, yeah, they got Jordan Poole out of there, which is good. But, they won 44 games last year. So, could they win 50 this year? Okay, but that's really only 6 games better than the year before. So I just don't like if they have to play the Kings again. I think they're just going to get run off the floor. You know,
Yeah.
the Kings or yeah, if they're going to play the Lakers again, I don't see how the hell they can beat the Lakers. I don't see it. Could they beat Phoenix? Possibly because I don't think Phoenix is going to be able to play good enough defense, and so that kind of plays right into the Warriors' hands. But you know, look, they had their run, and this with the stuff with the younger players, it didn't pan out the way they needed it to. Jordan Poole just became a problem in the locker room, so they had to get him out of there. And now there's, you're seeing these predictions where like, well, they need Jonathan Kuminga to take a step forward. And whenever you start off a season and the prediction is, well, this guy needs to go up, 3 levels, I'm just like, okay, usually that doesn't happen. So I don't. It's like, well, he's got to be, Andre Iguodala 2.0. It's like, well, Andre Iguodala was really good. Okay, I don't think that's really possible.
I agree with you. Listen, I don't I think the this anybody who's criticizing the move, like ripping the Warriors for doing this, I'm like, I disagree with that. I think Chris Paul, with all the shooting around him, where he's got all these guys he can get the ball to, I think I think it's fabulous for him. Chris Paul's one of the smartest players ever to play in the league. You don't think he's going to figure out how to function on this team, which is
Yeah.
all about IQ and moving the ball and, doing the right things at the right time? Like, I just think, yeah, it'll be, he'll figure out how to make it work. And the idea that they can kind of stagger his minutes with Curry's minutes so that, one of them is on the floor most of the time, I think that's fabulous for them. But again, like you said, they got older and they got smaller.
Yeah.
And those two things are going to be a problem, especially in the West when you got teams like Denver and the Lakers, and you've got Phoenix. Like, who's going to guard? Like, Wiggins can't guard everybody, you know.
Yep.
So and that was the problem with the Warriors last year. Was the defense was terrible. So we'll see. I have a feeling they can have a better regular season because Chris Paul will keep it. They'll be stable, and I don't think it'll be this wild fluctuations. But I don't think their ceiling is very high, even if Curry is absolutely insane.
Right.
Let's see, what's the argument for Phoenix? Okay, this team I think is fun just because it could be a train wreck and it could be pretty good. Is the Minnesota Timberwolves? Um, I think they are quite. It's just I'm quite fascinated by this that they made this Rudy Gobert trade, which I thought was just absolute nonsense. And I just have a feeling like it's basically to me the clock is ticking until all right. When are we trading Karl Anthony Towns? But that being said, I think the clock is ticking, but very slowly. I don't think they have to do it this year. I think you're waiting for Anthony Edwards to ascend to become like a all-star, all-NBA level guy before you start making moves. I don't think it's necessary to do anything now, but I'm just fascinated to see, is he going to take that next leap, because the guy is spectacular. He's built like a linebacker. He can do everything. I think he's going to get better on defense, especially he gets a little more time now, because when he puts his mind to it, he can be really good on defense. So, but I just think this wrestling of control of this team between Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns and whoever else is there. I just find that fascinating, and I just think the only way forward is they're going to have to trade Cat. I just wonder, is it sooner rather than later? But what do you think about the Timberwolves? Because I'm really interested.
I mean, it's. I don't think it'll be much different than before. I mean, they will probably make the playoffs, and they'll probably lose in the first round. I mean, they just, yeah, they got all this size, but I mean, Gobert, like, he was getting exposed in Utah. I don't know why they traded all those draft picks for him. And Karl Anthony Towns will make dumb plays. At least they got rid of D'Angelo Russell. I mean, so then they don't have 2 guys on their team just making stupid plays. But, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like they went all in, and it's like you went all in, and your ceiling is the second round of the playoffs. It's like, all right, okay.
Yeah, Yeah, it's crazy because they have so much talent. They have players at every position. They've just got they're just loaded with all this stuff. But it's like learning how to play basketball together is kind of what the NBA is about. And this kind of all right. So I want to lead into my list here, my knucklehead list. With this question because I have my answer. Do you think Zion Williamson is ever going to put it together? And is this the year?
I mean, I guess I would say no, but maybe he'll have one year where like things just everything the stars align and everything looks really good. But I mean, we're only a few games in. We got to see if he stays healthy. Um, and I don't, we don't have evidence that that's going to happen. So I have obviously a lot of skepticism. But I mean, yeah, like when you see him play, like yeah, he goes out there and it's just like people can't really they can't stop him. So yeah, if he's able to play a lot, then yeah, the Pelicans should be really good.
Yeah, I like yeah. Again, Pelicans very similar to the Timberwolves in that they have just an unbelievable amount of talent. They obviously have major injury issues that causes them a lot of problems. But look, here's the thing. I kind of made a decision this season that look, man, if you don't have your shit figured out and you've been in the league 4 or 5 years, like then I'm basically out. I mean, look, Zion. No offense, no offense to Zion, but he's got all kinds of issues going on. Can't figure out. I'm watching the highlights the other night. He still looks overweight. I don't know. He obviously he gets injured a lot. Can't keep his weight down. Doesn't seem to care as much as he should about staying in the correct shape in order to play well in NBA games. Right? He's got this situation. Gets one girl pregnant. Meanwhile, he's got some porn star shouting him out. Text messages that he's promising her all kinds of stuff. And Clark, I went back to that and I was just thinking about this the other day. I'm like, no, you know what? He's a knucklehead. He doesn't get it. Like you can't believe in this guy. Maybe he'll figure it out when he's 28, but by then it'll probably be too late. So
Yeah.
I'm out on these guys who don't have their act together. They get into the league. They have all this talent. I get it. But if you haven't, you're 4 or 5 years in and you haven't kind of nailed it down, then you are what you are. So that being said, so these are the guys that I'm completely out on, Clark. I'm done with. I don't believe in them. Don't talk to me about them. I'm finished. Like I've had it up to here. They're never going to achieve whatever their potential is. So Zion's number one, Ben Simmons, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Karl Anthony Towns, Ja Morant. I know Ja Morant's good, but
Yeah.
he's never going to get to the upper level. If he can't figure this stuff out now, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, well, by the way, I don't want to make a moral judgment on people, but I'll just say that, like, you notice, like, Steph Curry and Chris Paul and LeBron and who else? Like, Drew Holiday and Al Horford. Like, there's a huge list of people you could cite who, like, they're either married or they're just really stable, and you don't see any BS around them. Now, maybe some of them don't. Some of them obviously clearly have a lot of talent. Some of them have limitations, whatever. They may get injured, however that goes. But still, you're not going to worry about all this other stuff. James Harden, it's like, was he partying at the strip club last night? Like, was he getting bottle service and blowing through thousands of dollars? Like, we don't know, And I know people could say, well, Jordan was out gambling. And I'm like, well, that's true, but Jordan was the greatest player of all time. So, I guess that mitigates it.
Well, and by the way, when he came out when it was time to play basketball, he did.
Yeah.
And also worked his ass off in the off season to make his game better every single year. So
Right.
there's that's the other thing with that. Like I get it, but at the same time, and I want to add D'Angelo Russell to this list. Now he's a little bit lower level because we kind of know what he is. He's a solid NBA player. He's not great. He doesn't have a chance to be great like some of these other guys do. But yeah, I'm done with it. Like if you can't figure it out, and listen, Zion's incredible. Like when he's playing, I love watching him. I love the guy's talent, but I just feel like he's going to be one of those guys who just never got there. So anybody else you want to add to the knucklehead list, Clark?
Uh, no, I think you basically covered it. I think I would agree with everybody on there. Yeah,
And the thing is, like, I want to add Russell Westbrook to it, but I got to tell you, Clark, Russell Westbrook plays his ass off.
yeah, he makes bad decisions in games, but you don't hear about anything with him off the court really.
No, no, he's
So
got his priorities in order. When he comes to play, he comes to play. Like, you can complain about all the stuff he does, that's fine, but the guy shows up every game. And in the playoffs, he was playing his butt off. And it was really helping the Clippers in that series. Now they couldn't win because, Kawhi and Paul George were injured, which they always are. So before we get out of here, do you want to you have any thoughts on the Heat? Should we talk about
yeah,
our
right.
team?
So obviously last year them making the finals, I think that gives people maybe a slightly warped perception. Look, they were barely over 500 last year. They almost lost in the play-in tournament. Okay? Their team didn't really get better this year. In fact, you could argue it probably got a little bit worse. Um, it really sucks they didn't get Damian Lillard. Obviously they had a really good shot to get him, but unfortunately things just didn't work out. So, what are you left with? Well, Jimmy Butler, he's a lot further along in his career, so he's probably going to miss some time during the season. Um, Bam Adebayo is still really, really good. He's still really important on defense. I think he'll have another really good year. Tyler Hero had a good year last year. He just got hurt in the playoffs, so I think he'll be good. And then, look, I think Spoelstra will figure out a way to get the most out of those other guys on the bench who, weren't getting a lot of playing time last year because, they had Strus and Caleb and Gabe Vincent. So yeah, I mean, and Kyle, they have Kyle Lowry, and he's obviously hit or miss in a lot of games, especially in playoff series. Sometimes he'll have some big moments, but for the most part, yeah, he's way past his prime. So yeah, the Heat, we'll see. Again, if they hit a lot of threes, then yeah, maybe they can have a really good regular season. I don't know, but they were the eighth seed last year for a reason. So. I, look, I'm going to enjoy watching the team, and we'll see what they kind of do. And I think because of Heat culture and Spoelstra and everything, they'll figure out a way to be better than the sum of their parts. And when they get to the playoffs, they'll play really hard, and they'll make the other team work. Is that going to be enough for them to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals or even the finals? Like, I don't think so. And the last thing I'll say is, I don't want people to get the wrong impression. I think the Jimmy Butler era has been a massive success. And you're like, well, they haven't won any championships. Did you really think they were going to win championships when they got Jimmy Butler? And no offense to Jimmy Butler, he's awesome. But I mean, they made the finals twice. They made the Eastern Conference Finals 3 times in 4 years. That's insane. I didn't see that coming.
Yep.
So yeah, look, we'll see what happens, and we'll see if maybe they try to make some kind of move during the trade deadline. Maybe Pat Riley can pull something off. I don't know, but this is kind of the roster they have, and we'll see if they can overachieve again.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about teams not meeting expectations. The Heat always meet and exceed their expectations.
Right.
So there's nothing to really complain about. Yeah, this is going to be, if a lot of it's going to depend on health. They can keep guys healthy, though. They should be able to hang in there. I think the East is fairly weak this year. I think they have a good shot. They got a shot at getting a top 4, top 6 at least. And they have Kyle Lowry's expiring that they can try to move to try to help him out later in the season. So I think they're going to be good. And if they can just shoot a little bit better than they did in the regular season last year, they should keep themselves out of the play-in tournament, for God's sakes.
Right.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And listen, are Milwaukee and Boston, should they beat us in the playoffs? They should. Doesn't mean they will.
Right.
Because by the way, you saw Jimmy Butler against Milwaukee was cooking Drew Holiday. Who's guarding Jimmy Butler for Milwaukee now? Dame Lillard? like who's Butler might torch them again. Doesn't mean that he will win the series. But yeah, no, I think listen, man, I love being the underdog every year. I think it's a lot of fun. People counting us out all the time and then over delivering. Like, You can't beat it. It's turning into a tradition, and I'm looking forward to it. So anyway, before we get out of here, I mean, I'm taking Denver Milwaukee for the finals. Are you
Yeah,
agreement?
because I just don't. I maybe Boston will surprise me, but I just don't trust them. So I'll have to go with Milwaukee. Even though
Yeah.
even though Milwaukee has a new coach, and that is a concern. If we're going to go over like what are teams' fatal flaws, I think with Milwaukee, it's we're not sure about the coach, and also they're not going to be as good on defense. So how does that affect? Are they able to overcome that with as good as they're going to be on offense?
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. All right, guys. Everybody enjoy the NBA season. Thanks for tuning in. Catch everybody later.